Hi everyone, so my name is Laurent Richard. I'm the founder and the executive director of Forbidden Stories. We are a non-profit based in France, in Paris, and our mission is to continue the work of assassinated, under threat, and jailed journalists. On June 5, 2022, okay, I need to point at the green light here. Let's try. Okay, it's good. Thank you. On June 5, 2022, British journalist Don Phillips and his guide and friend Bruno Pereira disappeared in Brazil Javari Valley. Their bodies were found 10 days later after the prime suspects, illegal fishermen, confessed to the crime. Phillips spent months before the assassination, before his killing, to work on a book titled How to Save the Amazon. It was about threats to the tropical rainforest and to the people who were living there. Pereira, his friend and guide, were recently joining Univaja, one Aboriginal organization that defends the rights of the people living there in the area. The two of them were investigating in this very dangerous area of Brazil the illegal fishing, and they were navigating in this area that were transformed into a hub of drug trafficking, natural resource trafficking, illegal logging. This is why it was very dangerous. This is why they were extremely threatened, under threat. And this is also why they were disrupting businesses over there. Over the past several years, reporting on a crime is one of the most dangerous topics for journalists. Whether you're investigating about mining companies, illegal logging, all the extractive industry, it's going to be very, very dangerous. According to Reporters Without Borders, 2 journalists are killed on average each year in relation to their work, to their topics. Don Phillips was one of the most experienced journalists. For 15 years, he crisscrossed the area, the Amazon area, and Bruno Pereira was also very experienced. He was an expert on indigenous communities, and he knew the field better than anyone. Bruno and Don were killed because they were investigating issues that affect all of us here, because they were investigating companies, multinational, who are putting us all in danger and all the future of humanity. And that's precisely why with Forbidden Stories we are continuing the work of assassinated journalists. Every time a journalist is killed, it's for a very important story for the public opinion. Whether it's about corruption, money laundering, drug trafficking, human rights violation. Like in Malta, almost 6 years ago, Daphne Caruana Galizia was killed as she was investigating money laundering at the top level of the government of Malta. Like Jagendra Singh, who was killed in India as he was investigating the sand mafia. Or Carlos Schoch in Guatemala, who was arrested and harassed over there because he was a photograph collecting pictures of the pollution caused by a nickel mine in the area of the Lake Isabel. So this is why with Forbidden Stories we do our best to keep stories alive, and we do that in a collaborative way. Why we are doing that? We are doing that because we want to make sure that the people get access to critical information. And we want as well to send a strong signal to enemies of the press that killing the journalist won't kill the story. So we start 6 years ago, so we are still young and small, but I wanted to show you a short video that is telling about what we have done about the past 6 years. And there is some sound that we will need. Can you put up the sound, please? Hello. Can you, yeah, we're supposed to have some sound, I'm sorry for that. It's not working? Okay. So that was, there is no way to have some sound, otherwise I can continue, no worries, just tell me. No? Okay. Let me continue. So I was trying to explain that we are doing that for the past 6 years. We were investigating in many countries, in Mexico, in Azerbaijan, in other places, and we do that in a collaborative way. What we are doing here as a journalist, as investigative journalists, is for the public interest. We are not prosecutors, we are not cops, we don't have any weapons, and we are only doing that to provide the public opinion access to independent information. And to make sure the killers of Bruno and Dom will not succeed in preventing this story from being told, we had to be as organized as the criminals they are. The people who are killing those journalists are very well organized, very well connected, very rich, very powerful. In Mexico, the impunity rate is 99%. That means that in 99% of the cases where journalists have been killed, you never find the mastermind. No one is convicted for that. That's precisely why, to continue and to publish the work of reporters who have been silenced, we foster a unique modus operandi amongst journalists, collaboration. So that's a new trend for the past 10 or 15 years. You have heard about the Panama Papers. That was one of the largest collaboration in the history of journalism. And that's extremely impactful because with journalism, with that kind of collaborative journalism, you can bring impact, resources, protection, and it's sometimes more difficult. It's sometimes more difficult to be operating as a group versus being the lone wolf reporter. This is just a slide I used to show to some students in journalism. So on the left, you have the lone wolf reporter model, and on the right, you have the collaborative journalism model. So the lone wolf reporter spirit is usually the model where we have been trained for. We have been trained to become that kind of journalist who will be alone, investigating through his own sources, doing his own investigation, going alone on stage, receiving his award, while collaborative journalism is something that is about radical sharing experience. You have to share everything. You have to share your contacts, you have to share your resources, you have to share your skills with the other one, you have to adopt another way of behaving that is extremely different than the main model. On one hand, on the left side, no compromise to make. The only compromise you will have will be with your own rhythm, your own deadlines, with your own editor, while on the right side, you can see there is a big risk of Zoom burnout because you spend your time in conference call, you spend your time talking to 50 or 60 other journalists, so it could be very exhausting. On one hand, on the left side, you see that when you do work alone, your reporting would be very limited. You can only report, investigate on your own territory, your resources will be limited, while when you are part of the group, the world is yours, there is no limit. When we are creating a team at Forbidden Stories based on the project, we try for each project to set up a dream team. We try to identify who will be able to help us with OSINT knowledge, for instance. If we need to map some environmental crimes, such as illegal logging, we will need satellite pictures, and we need to understand that and to transform that into some stories. So we need to find the talents for that. We will need as well some people who will have direct access to the police, to police sources, to investigate the crime scene, to know what happened to the journalist, to investigate the threat that he or she might have received before the killing on his WhatsApp, for instance. We will have to team up with people with access with the intelligence community or access to some data leak. And something as well what we are doing with Forbidden Stories, and I think we should do more and more collaborative investigation like that when it's about environmental crimes, that when we start, we don't have any leak. We start usually with nothing except the killing of one journalist. One journalist has been killed, the killer is still free. It's going to be extremely dangerous. So this is why we need to team up, because someone can be killed. Someone have already been killed, and another one can be killed. So this is why collaboration is bringing protection. Not only protection, it's bringing resources. When you are investigating, like the Dom and Bruno project, 50 journalists from 16 news organizations were coming together to investigate that on different parts of the Amazon, even in other countries, to track the supply chain, to understand why some products were ending up in the rest of the world and how multinational were part of that. So this is why collaboration is extremely, is for me the future of journalism. More protection, more resources, more impact as well. By publishing at once the story that people wanted to silence at the beginning, like the story that Dom and Bruno were investigating, illegal fishing in the Java Valley, by publishing at once in many countries at the same time, same hour, same second, powerful stories with many newspapers, we are creating a conversation that no one can avoid. And it has been said before in some presentation that it's pointless to see that from environmental crimes from his own country, from France, from Portugal, from the US. We are facing a global crime, so we need a global network to do that. So this is clearly a paradigm shift in journalism, and this needs to be, I think, more and more trained and teach in journalism school as well. And that's not the case at all for instance, in France or in many countries. So just going back to the Bruno, just before that, I wanted to explain you as well another project related to environmental crimes. That was the Green Blood Project. We published that in 2019. What we did was we were continuing the work of 3 journalists. The 3 journalists, they didn't know each other. One was in India, another one in Tanzania, and the third one in Guatemala. Jagendra Singh in India was investigating the sand mafia. Another journalist in Tanzania was investigating a gold mine. A photographer in Guatemala was investigating a nickel mine. The 3 of them, they didn't know each other, but they were both investigating the mining industries, mining companies. And all this mining sector is extremely opaque. There is no transparency, no accountability. There is a lot of corruption over there. So this is why we team up to investigate that. What we wanted as well to show to the public opinion through this project is that what is happening in Uttar Pradesh in India or in Sinaloa in Mexico or in other states, it's not only a crime against a journalist in India, it's a crime against the planet. Because the sand was mined over there, we were able to collect evidences that the sand was exported then to most of the countries, to Europe, to the US. So this is why we need to team up as well to make the public opinion understanding that through our narrative and through our collaborative process, that is a global crime that we are facing. And when we were investigating the pollution caused by the mine in Guatemala, we were able as well to collect evidences, scientific samples, showing the contamination, despite the denial of the company. Of course, the company was big, it was held by Russian and Switzerland-based entities, and they were threatening us of suing us. But not only threatening us, they were threatening reporters over there. And what happened 6 or 10 months later, after the publication of this project, we received a leak from a hacker who did hack the company that we were investigating. And in the company files, we were able to find that video of us. They were tracking us. They were surveilling us. We were sending a team with journalists from Guatemala, journalists from The Guardian, journalists from Le Monde, and they were filmed by some security people from the mine everywhere they were going, in every street. While we were collecting scientific samples on the lake, our team was surveilled, was filmed. We found in the leak many files about the journalists and how they are, about their writing, about their article about the pollution of the lake. We find many evidences about how they were lying and how they were building a fake narrative about the fact that the lake was not contaminated, and they did know that the lake was contaminated by themselves. They even did know where the contamination came precisely from the plant. So this is something, of course, you know earlier, but this is to take an example about how that kind of company is able to build a large PR effort to destroy the reputation of journalists, to harass them, to kill the messenger, to kill the message, and to make sure that we won't publish that kind of stories. So this is what we wanted to tell through this project. Back to the Dom and Bruno project, What was extremely as well, so when we are starting a project, we try to identify the leads that the journalist was working on. And on the other hand, we try to investigate the killing himself. And at some point, we can find two paths, but the two will meet to, and we will have a better understanding about what was the story that convinced killers to kill the journalist. And to give you an example of the kind of leads that Dom and Bruno was investigating, and so we pursue the leads. The first one was how the beef industry and the export of some beef from some lands, from some protected lands in Brazil, were exporting to Europe. And so that was also a way to explain to the European readers what is happening in the Amazon, how the killing of Dom and Bruno is extremely something to consider as a catastrophe in our daily life, because they try to tell the world about how this kind of multinational is doing that. Because what they were investigating, even in the illegal fishing, it was not only about local fishermen who were trying to find their own subsistence, it was about big corporations over there. One of the other stories, there were plenty of stories, and it was a large collaboration, but one of the other stories was how some landowner, corrupted guys, were using Facebook to sell some lands, even lands who were protected by the Brazilian constitution. So that was extremely important to go through the social network and to understand how social networks were helping that kind of businesses. So without journalists on the ground, since we are facing a large climate change issue, with no journalists on the ground, how to know that? How to know about this landowner using Facebook? How to know about this company exporting the beef from protected areas? There is no way to know. And so, and what we have in front of us, we have more and more companies, like the automotive companies, oil industry, fossil companies, who will put on the table more and more resources, more and more money to spread this information amongst us, amongst the civil society, to explain that they are not accountable for that. So this is why journalism facing climate change, we need to be stronger and we need to be united. We are losing our time if we still thinking that we can report from our own. So of course it's difficult. Of course we need resources for that. We need the strength for that. We need to change the paradigm and the way to collaborate. But this is extremely urgent, because what we are doing with Forbidden Stories is not only an answer to crimes committed against the press, but crimes committed against the planet. So this independent and free press and climate is more urgent than ever because of all that kind of efforts and PR campaign, greenwashing campaign we are facing all the time. So I want there to tell you that we need as much money they do have, but we need more financial supports. We need more strengths. We need to be more united on that. And we need to convince the public opinion that we all need to be free press activists on that. At Forbidden Stories as well, something important I wanted to finish on that is that we created the Safe Box Network. That is extremely, I think, crucial, not only to be able to continue the work of some journalists who have been killed, but to dissuade the killers to kill journalists. The Safe Box Network is something we created 6 years ago that is a place for journalists who are under threat all over the world to secure and to share with us their ongoing investigation. So in case something happened to them, we will be able to continue. This is what we did last year after the killing of Rafael in Moreno in the north of Colombia. He was killed in the state of Cordoba. Rafael did contacting us early October last year, and he was more and more concerned about threats he was receiving. He was receiving threats from local businessmen, from the clan of Golfo, which is a powerful drug cartel operating there. And what was the story that Rafael was investigating? He was investigating many corruption stories, many money laundering stories related to some powerful clan over there, but as well environmental crimes. He was investigating the story of a mining companies operating there without licenses, extracting resources without licenses, causing a lot of pollution all around in the field, on the river, and he was threatened for that. And so Raphael were contacting us and asked us to continue his work in case something happened. And a few days later, we learned that Raphael was killed. A Sicario came into him and shot him with a gun. And so the day after, we decided to team up with many Colombian journalists, many South American journalists, and international journalists coming from all around the world. We flew over there to the state of Cordoba, to Monte Libano. We meet the family. We collect as soon as we can, as fast as we can, papers, evidences, documents that Raphael was reporting on. And we were able, 6 months later, to continue and to publish the forbidden stories he was investigating. And in a few days from now, next week, that will be 1 year anniversary of the killing of Raphael, and we are about to publish other revelation related to those environmental crimes that he was investigating. But I wanted to show you and to present you as well Haruna. Haruna is a journalist from Nigeria. It's another part of the world, but this is how to tell how journalists are threatened all around the world for the same kind of very important story. Haruna is not only investigating environmental crimes over there, he's investigating corruption, of course, over there, the funding of a terrorist group over there as well, and he's part of the SafeBox network. Every week he's uploading to our SafeBox network the files, the instruction, the documents about his ongoing story. And he want to be extremely loud and visible about that. So this is why on his Twitter account he's explaining that if you try to silence me, the story will be amplified by hundreds and thousands of other journalists all around the world. And I really believe in that. I really believe in that sometimes the killers, they don't care too much about the statement because of all the impunity around them, built by the politicians who are backing them in a don't look up style. I don't know, I don't want to see. So how to defeat impunity? I really believe that journalism is the best answer to defend journalism. We're not here just to defend press freedom, but to defend democracy. And because the stories that we are working on are so crucial for democracy and for the future of humanity when it's about environmental crimes. So I believe that sending that signal is extremely crucial. Of course, we cannot offer physical protection. We are not doing that. We are just journalists. But if we ensure the survival of the story, what is the point to kill a journalist if you know that 50 others will continue his work and will publish the story you wanted to silence? And the story will be exposed and published not only in Cordoba, not only in Bogota, but as well in New York, in Nairobi, in Rio, in every places. So this is what we call the Streisand effect. You want to block something, you want to silence something, and then because you just want to do that, you will amplify the story you wanted to silence. So, but to do that, we need to build that community, and we need to explain that we are unstoppable. But the thing is that we are facing that, as you know, as Haruna is, as Rafael Moreno was as well, most of the journalists who got killed as the most isolated one. This is what is killing journalists, actually, because they are reporting from remote area. They are publishing their own stories on their own Facebook wall because they don't have any more newsroom to back them, because it's too dangerous to be journalist over there. So they are very alone. All around them, there are a nexus of businessmen, drug cartels, or organized crime group who will be there. And at some point, because they are disrupting the businesses and the politics of so many interests over there, when the person will be killed, and that will be fine for many people around them. So this is why and how the killer feels more and more now that they can get away easily with the killing. So this is why I really believe that journalists got killed because of the story, not because of their personality or or because they are a person, just because of the information they were just publishing or they are about to publish. So if we ensure the survival of the story, I really believe that we can change something and really improve democracy and improve access to information and dissuade the people to kill the journalists. So this is what I wanted to finish on that, and thank you for your attention. Happy to take some questions.
Okay, we have about 8 minutes for some questions, so we can have a few questions. Does anyone want to ask a question? I see a hand up there. Last time I was at the front, so are there any at the back? Okay, I'll give to a lady there, and I see some more over here as well.
Thank you so much for your work and for defending democracy globally. You said you think the future of journalism is collaboration. And I would like to know if you also think that the future of journalism is many small independent newsrooms working together, sharing, and not big corporations. The future of true investigative journalism, how it would be? Thank you.
Well, it's a hard question. And I don't know if I can really provide a precise answer about what will be the future of journalism. I think that yes, definitely there is first an issue about who is the owner of the newspaper. In France, in many countries, there is a question about you have 4 or 5 billionaires who are the owner of the newspapers. How to make sure that we have diversity, how to make sure that we have free access to information. So yes, I believe, and this is what we are doing with Forbidden Stories, we try to work with many non-profit as well, who are based in different countries. We try to support them directly. We try to build, the community of the smalls, to face the giant, to face the big scandal. And I really believe that as well that we need to collaborate for the good reasons as well. And just to be sure, just to clarify, not all the stories need a collaboration. Sometimes you don't need to creating a big group to investigate a story, even if it's local or national. Sometimes collaboration could be only 2 newspapers or 200 newspapers. Just driven by what you want to tell through this story and how difficult the story is and how global the story is. Sometimes as well, I believe as well that future journalism is coming with the partnership with other organizations who are not organizations driven by journalism. For instance, when we were running the Pegasus project, we were partnering with Amnesty International Security Lab. So with their knowledge of how NSO Group was targeting where the state, where the consumer and the users of the NSO Group were targeting thousands of people around the world because they were dissidents, journalists, political opponents, their knowledge, their expertise were extremely crucial to make the revelation that we were able to do, to publish the stories that we all publish. So partnering with other organizations, we provide OSINT, or we provide technical expertise, we provide scientific samples, especially about the topic we're talking about today, talking about something that we need evidences, otherwise we will be sued. It's always about the pollution that company is causing, so we need to be extremely solid on our evidences as well. And so I think that, yes, as all the speakers were talking about that this morning, partnering with the talents coming from other kind of communities is extremely crucial. So this is how I see some part of the future of investigative journalism facing the climate change issue.
More questions? Did we have some from this part of the room? Or at the back? Yeah, okay.
Thank you for my, this is loud. Thank you so much for your talk. I cover a very difficult region, which is Latin America, and it has become the worst place to be a journalist. I wonder how do you see the future of security for journalists in that country? And there are many more that are giving up on the profession to stay safe.
Yeah. I think that what I was as well explaining during the talk, that isolation, the fact that journalists are very isolated, working alone, publishing on their own Facebook, is what they are in danger because of that, because they don't have any kind of backup. So I think that when we look at the profile of people who have been killed in Mexico, in Colombia, in other countries, or even in other parts of the world, yeah, they are very isolated. So I think the safety of those journalists will go through first the community around them, how to reconnect them with other newsroom. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the digital security, digital safety. That's crucial. There is so much money to make for cyber surveillance industry who are developing spyware like Predator, like Pegasus. And in front of them, they have autocrats or even democracy who are using that kind of technologies and ready to pay millions to infect one cell phone. So, and on the other hand, we are here, we are just citizens, we don't have too many means to buy a second phone. How we do that? How to protect our communication? And we know that most of the time when a journalist is killed, the first thing that the killers were doing was to surveil the journalists. And one way to surveil with not a lot of risk to be caught is the cyber surveillance. So protecting the communication between journalists is really key for the safety of the journalist. And so that's something that we all need to go to some, not only training, but to have a good understanding about when I'm a journalist. Sometimes trainer will tell to the journalist at risk, you need to buy that computer or you need to use that application, but with that application you cannot work. You cannot elaborate with your editor, you cannot build some graphism. So it's in the daily life of a reporter, sometimes security could be an issue because you need to go fast, you need to contact your sources. So we need to have, I think, more training, very adapted to, adjusted to the need and the pace and the daily life of a reporter. Something as well that is key for, I think, for safety of journalists is the safety of the sources who are talking to the journalist. There is no journalism, there is no investigation, there is no revelation we can make without people who are providing us information. And one way for many powerful people to diminish the access of information is to target the sources. That's the first thing, when you get surveilled, that the first thing that people are doing is to know who is talking to you. So this is a huge responsibility for us on our end to offer a clear and safe way for the potential sources, for the future sources, about the way they should reach out to you. Don't use a computer from your companies. Use a signal messages that will disappear after 2 hours. You need to be very clear on your website about how people should reach out to you, because otherwise they will end up in jail, they might be killed, and we see that many times, several times per year. So yeah, I think that, and as well, a very last point, and sorry to be long on the answer, regarding the safety of journalists, is also going back to the understanding of about who we are. What is journalism? For who we are working for? And there is more and more threats against journalists because there is a perception that journalists are not working for the public interest, which is an issue because we are all working for the public interest. We all taking a lot of risk. There is a lot of precarity, and you're going to be harassed online, and you might be killed, you might be threatened, especially if you're living in a country where there is no safety for you directly. So it's the question about the understanding of what journalism is and the fact to restore the trust with the public opinion, to explain to who we are working for, that we are working for all of us here, especially with that kind of issue, where there is a urgency to investigate. We need to better explain as well why journalism is crucial for democracy. There is no democracy without access to information.